Longworth, and welcome to another edition of Triad Today. Coming up later on, our infamous roundtable gets together. We'll see what kind of controversies they get into, but between now and then, some great guests and important information coming your way. We'll talk about the opioid crisis with a leading chairman and CEO of one of our big companies here in the area and what they're doing to help abate that crisis. We'll also talk about how to prevent stroke, and we'll meet with a very successful university athletic director. All that and much more coming up. But first, we turn our attention to pesky geese. What do we do with pesky geese? I'll tell you, it can be a big problem to a lot of people, but we have a solution and a couple of folks and a young dog that's going to tell us about this right now. On my right, Gwen Kuykendall is with her husband, is an owner of something called Goose Masters, and she's here with her son Cody. We welcome them, and Tenley the Border Collie, which is a young lady dog. How you doing, Tenley? Tenley doesn't talk, does she?
No, not yet.
Yeah, she howled at me earlier, though. But welcome to the program. Now, Gwen, tell me very quickly, what is Goose Masters?
It's a Canada goose control company that we take care of nuisance geese on a variety of properties.
Okay, and Tenley figures into this equation how, Cody? I mean, if I call up and say I've got a problem with geese at my place of business, my restaurant, my house, my apartment building, I've got geese just everywhere, what do you do?
Well, first we'll come out and take a look at the property and kind of evaluate it and see how bad the problem is. And then we'll do a free demo, on-site demo for them. And the way the dog works is they're pretty much bringing the predator back into the area in the cities where they're no longer there anymore. So it's a natural, humane way of controlling because the Border Collie doesn't want to ever touch the goose. They want to.
Yeah, so the Border Collie doesn't go in, for folks at home, just so you know, Tenley would not go in and start gnawing on the geese.
Yep.
She just herds them.
Yeah,
right.
Yep.
Right?
It's a very, her objective is to try to round them up and bring them back to me like a flock of sheep or anything like that. So
Right.
the geese see that and they feel threatened and they fly to a new place.
They fly off.
Yep.
Goose might have a heart attack or something, but no, not really. No, the geese are safe. They just fly away, go in another location. Now, what kind of problems give me an example, either one of you, Gwen? I mean, what kind of problems do people call up and say, this has happened, this has happened?
Right. Probably the biggest problem is what the geese leave behind.
The poop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They can produce about 1.5 pounds of poop per bird per day. And what happens, they don't care where they leave it, can be on sidewalks, parking lots, flat top roofs, 100 geese
Wow.
pooping up there.
And that's not fun and cute.
Well, it's not fun and cute. It gets into the air conditioning systems.
And then it becomes a health hazard.
Right.
Well, they're
Water
also,
quality.
don't they tear up grass too? And when people
They do. A lot of plucking up of the grass. Yeah, lawn care companies seed. They get the seed almost immediately. So yeah, causing erosion.
Cody, now what can Tenley work on land or in a pond or a lake on water? Well, I mean,
Yeah, she works great on the land. She knows her right from her left. On command, she'll lie down at 100 meters away, 200 meters away. And on command, voice command, we do train them on whistles as well. And in the water, she'll work the same way.
Can you command her to sit up just a second? We're not seeing all the. She's so pretty. She's so pretty. Yeah, look at the camera there, Tenley. You're something. I just didn't want to put her on the desk because her feet were slipping.
Right.
And
right.
sometimes she's, a dog sometimes is not comfortable on TV, as am I. Now I understand that she has a good work ethic, though, doesn't she, Cody?
Oh yes, yep.
Loves to go to work.
Yeah, very much. You can tell her she's ready to go to work, and she's at the door ready to go.
That's great. Well, I just think what y'all are doing, it's a great service I didn't think about, but as you said, it's a humane way of doing that. I want to put up on screen a website because then if people who are watching or you hear about this program want to get in touch with them, www.goose-masters.com, goose-masters.com. Hope you will go to that website. There'll be phone numbers on there that you can reach because y'all go all over the region, right?
We do, yes.
Well, good. And thanks for bringing Tenley.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right, Tenley, thanks for coming. All right. We'll chase away into this next segment. We'll be right back. Now on Triad Today, always glad when this gentleman can stop by and talk with us, but especially today because the topic is so serious and he and his company are doing so much to abate a particular crisis that we want to talk about right now. Next to me, our good friend David Mouse, Chairman and CEO of Inmar. Welcome back to the show, David.
My pleasure, Jim.
Often we talk about things like analytics and we talk about interns and STEM and all these great things that are going on. there's a bad thing going on, the opioid crisis. I want to get to that in just a second.
Yeah.
About your drug take-back program. I'll get you to explain what the drug take-back program is. Before we do that, though, bring me up to speed on how bad you think the opioid crisis is in this area.
It's bad. We've got 70,000 Americans that have died from overdoses, 10% increase over last year, and by far the biggest cause of that is opioids. And then if you look at the data, in particular, Jim, women aged 30 to 64, which I would say are the backbone of our society, right? Make so many things work.
Right.
Deaths from drug overdoses increased 260% from 99 to 2017. And then if you look at the rate of overdose deaths from just opioids alone, 492% increase in that same population.
Which, not putting words in your mouth, but I know that years ago you instituted this drug take-back program.
We did.
So I'm going to ask you sort of a series of questions here that for people maybe if they hadn't heard about it. What is a drug take-back program? How many years have you been offering it? And how did you come to get involved in it? So sort of attack those things.
Yeah, so we have been one of the nation's authorized processor of drugs coming out of the supply chain for businesses and hospitals, pharmacies for decades. And we are experts at this. We receive drugs from all over the country when it's time for them to come out of the supply chain, and we handle them in accordance with FDA and DEA regulations, and then most of them get turned into energy. You'd be surprised to know that. We're able to incinerate them and use them to power homes, and we do cool things with them. But the challenge has always been on the individual side. There are privacy issues, for example, like what medicines are coming back from an individual. Individuals have not had an easy way to take medicines that they didn't utilize fully. They didn't have an easy way other than just drug take-back days that would happen on occasion.
Yeah.
But on an everyday occurrence, there wasn't a way to do it.
Right.
And we said, we think we can use our network and solve this problem, so we created consumer drug take-back kiosks and began putting them throughout the nation.
I think that's great because you just said, you know, it's sort of a sporadic thing in the past where people say, well, I wonder if they're going to have another one of those drug take-back campaigns, but your thing is something that's out there all the time. Now, I understand that recently Inmar sort of partnered up with on this program with Google Maps. I think you sent me an email one day that
Yes.
says Google Maps. What does that mean?
Well, what it means is it's easy to find. There's 800 locations now where we have these drug take-back receptacles, and you can simply go to the Inmar Life in Check app, or you can go to Google Maps and you can search, you know, consumer drug take-back, and it'll give you these 800 locations where you can safely return your medicines. And the idea here, Jim, is it's a simple one, but it's a powerful one. We can prevent people from getting addicted to opioids if they never try them, right? And
Right.
a lot of people experiment with these medicines. They find them sitting in a medicine cabinet or in a cabinet at home. You know, someone may have needed them for a short duration. They didn't utilize all of it. They're discovered and they get used. And what we
Right.
really want people to know is every day of the year, you can get these medicines out. So when you're done and you don't need them anymore, for the safety of you, your family, and your community, get them to one of these drug take-back centers. We'll take care of them. We'll get them handled. They won't harm the environment, and they won't harm any of your family
Yeah,
or
especially
friends.
the way you do it, and then we got the confidentiality thing. But also one quick thing, I know it's a stupid question, but we've been talking about opioid crisis, but you'll take back any drugs, right?
We'll take back all the medicines. We do, because even though opioids certainly are the most serious from an addiction standpoint, we don't want these medicines going into the environment. Let us handle them in a way that they are being handled
Don't flush them.
appropriately.
Don't put them in the
That's right.
landfill. Go to this website. Well, I'm going to give you two websites. One is a general website, nmar.com, of course. But for our radio listening audience, let me say this quickly twice. www.rxdisposal.lifeincheck.com. I'll say it again, rxdisposal.lifeincheck.com. And that will give you more specifics on how you can get to this disposal sites and do this great program. I really applaud you for doing this, continuing to do it, and enhancing it. Thanks for all you do, David.
It's team sport. Let's get these things out of our communities.
Good thought. We'll be right back. Back now on Triad Today, and I will wager that just about all of us here, those of you that are watching the program today, you either know someone in your family or extended family or one of your friends who have been had to deal with a stroke, and strokes can be deadly. Now, fortunately, there are ways to reduce your risk of stroke, and we have a very lovely lady who's going to help us understand more about stroke, who's with us right now. Rietta Johnson is Program Manager for Comprehensive Stroke Center at Wake Forest Baptist Health. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Good to
Pleasure
see
to be
you.
here.
First of all, just in a few seconds, sum up for us, what is stroke?
Okay, great question. Actually, It is just a blockage of blood flow to the brain.
All
Very
right.
simple, actually.
Now, you sent me, I think it was you or Justin sent me an email last week, and it said there's an acronym F-A-S-T. It says FAST. I'm looking to see what that stands for, so I want you to tell me what it stands for in relation to stroke and awareness and prevention.
Okay, great question. Thank you for asking. Actually, FAST is a mnemonic that was put out for the community to understand what the symptoms of stroke are. So F in FAST is for face, A is for arms, S is for speech,
Okay.
and T is for time, meaning every minute counts when you're having a stroke.
So if you see one of those symptoms, then you know you need to get help immediately and not delay.
Exactly.
Is there anything we can do specifically? And I know that it's different between sometimes men and women, old and young, and whatever, but in general, what can we do to reduce the risk of a stroke?
Okay, another great question. The number one cause of stroke is high blood pressure or hypertension. So if we could treat everyone in the United States that had high blood pressure, we could save almost 365,000 strokes a year.
My Lord.
So that would be huge.
My Lord, keep that high blood pressure down. I'm going to throw out a few words, and you give me a quick reaction to them. Something about stroke programs. You have so many programs that are available through the Comprehensive Center: medical, surgical, rehab, and community. So tell me a little about each of them. Let's start with medical.
Okay, sure. That's another good question. So medically, we treat everyone as soon as they come in the emergency room, apparently. If someone enters the emergency room with any of the signs of stroke, like facial weakness, arm weakness, speech difficulties that we talked about a few minutes ago, then we immediately call a code stroke, take the patient immediately to the CAT scanner to get a CAT scanner of their head, which is the first thing we need to do to rule out a hemorrhage or bleeding in the brain. Then we bring them back to the bay in the emergency room and quickly assess them and get this great clot-busting medicine started if the patient meets the criteria to do that.
Yeah, that's right. And that can often stop the whole thing right there. But you also have surgical capabilities when you're talking about the Comprehensive Stroke Center. Quickly
Yes,
on
sir.
that.
Okay, great. We have actually an intervention that's called a thrombectomy, just meaning simply removal of a blood clot that's causing the stroke. We can actually thread a little catheter up through the femoral artery into the brain artery where the clot is, and then emit a little, like it's a little mess cage, that we just drag the blood clot out. And then blood supply is renewed immediately, and the patient that was possibly totally paralyzed and could not speak when he entered the radiological suite can actually almost get up and walk out. I mean, the results are dramatic.
You also offer rehab services, which is sort of self-explanatory, but very quickly, tell me what you mean by community, your community programs.
Is
that education?
Yes, we do education and community awareness. So actually, May is Stroke Month.
Yeah.
So we quadruple our number of community activities for the month of May because we really want to educate the general public about the 5 signs of stroke, which we just talked about, and what to do, which is call 911 immediately.
Right.
Because every minute counts when you're having a stroke.
Before time gets away from us, I want to put something up here, and that's the wakehealth.edu/stroke. I'll say it again for the radio listening audience: wakehealth.edu/stroke. Or you can call for an appointment at the Comprehensive Center of Excellence. I call it Center of Excellence because I know that's an important designation. I want to get you back sometime and talk about that designation. But 336-716-WAKE is the number, and excellence is the word for it because you guys do a great job. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you very much.
All right.
It's a pleasure being here.
Thanks, Triad. We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today. I was just sat down in the studio. I was thinking to myself, you know what I'd like is if a very successful athletic director from a university would just walk in here and sit down and talk. I just thought, and you know it happened. And right next to me, she just walked in here, Kim Record, our good buddy, Director of Athletics for UNCG, my alma mater, although they don't claim me, and welcome back to the program.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here, and we have a lot of great things to talk about, and we are so glad that you're a Spartan. I love to hear that.
Well, I appreciate that. Now, you know, I know people might think, well, is she going to brag on herself? No, I'll do that in a minute. But let's take you out of the equation for a second. Just give me some highlights about all the programs. Because a lot of people say, well, let me name a sport, I guess basketball. But give me an idea of how many sports we're talking about that are under your purview, and then some highlights of some of them.
Well, as you may or may not know, we have 17 sport programs, men's and women's. We play in the Southern Conference, which I like to remind people that both the ACC and the SEC grew out of the Southern Conference.
That's right.
So 220 student athletes, GPA, highest it's ever been is a 3.2. We give back 3,000 hours over the last couple of years in community engagement. And then certainly the gift that they bring, their diversity, is their talent in their sport. And over the course of the last couple of years, we've had 6 Southern Conference championships or appearances in the NCAA tournament. And for a student athlete, that is the pinnacle to compete at the highest
Absolutely.
level.
The men's basketball program did well last year and with a big championship there. And then I think recently men's golf and women's soccer have done real well.
This year we have won the Southern Conference tournament, which gives you the automatic bid. It's always an exciting time when you're sitting there and you really don't believe it until you see your name up on the screen.
Yeah.
And so postseason championships, they also get rings, and rings are a big deal.
That's great.
And again, but I can't underscore that what is just as impressive, if not more, is their ability to manage that and be great student ambassadors too.
One of the things, I watched a video the other day. We're not going to see it right now. There's a special program about UNCG athletics. It'll be coming up next month, and we'll keep you posted on that where we can see the whole video. But I was watching part of it, Be a Champion, and it's talking at one point about this big fundraiser that you have going on. Tell me about that.
We are really excited. This is the first capital campaign that UNCG Athletics will be undergoing. We're actually a little bit ahead of the curve. The university probably will be making an announcement at some point in time, but ours is, we're calling it the 5 for 5 campaign for champions, commemorating those 5 championships, because that's the benchmark level we want to be in.
Sure.
And so it will be a combination of facility projects and then an endowment to sustain hiring and retaining great coaches.
But Kim, before time runs out, I'm just going to play devil's advocate. You're already doing you have all this great success. This is the part where I'm going to brag on you, and it's really in large part to you, and I'm going to pat you on the back for that. But you have all this great success. Why do you need new facilities? What's it going to make? What difference would it make?
Well, no difference than in private business. I mean, it's competition, and I don't like to call it keeping up with the Joneses, but at the same time, we make a promise when student athletes come on our campus to give them all of the tools to be successful, and that includes the infrastructure that they need to compete against other Division I programs. And so it's important that not only do we maintain, but we exceed what we already have on campus.
Sure. And again, as you alluded to earlier, great students, not just athletes, but great student athletes doing well in the classroom. And again, I attribute a lot of that to you and your coaches who do a great job. Up on screen, a couple things I want to put up there before I forget. UNCGSpartans.com is a good website to check out, UNCGSpartans.com, and also SpartanClub.org. You can check that out as well. But we want you to get involved, go see the games, support the university and the athletic program, and donate if you can. And I just congratulate you for all the success you've had, and you've done a great job.
Well, thank you very much. It takes a village, as you well know, and so there's a lot of teamwork that goes on that I get to lead, which is exciting.
Kim Record, thanks for just barging into the studio.
No
That's just a
problem.
big surprise. No, we invited her. That's right. We'll be right back. Back now on Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable, but a quick reminder, I hope you'll pick up your copy of Yes Weekly. Lots of good stuff in there. It's available free just about everywhere, or you can go online. Now, you don't have to go anywhere except right here to see these 3 guys. Let's get right to it. On my right, but on the political left always, is Ogie Overman, the great broadcaster and journalist, who's wearing a Mona Lisa tie. We won't ask him why, but it's, I guess this week is what,
He died 500 years ago Friday.
okay.
Not Mona
And you
Lisa,
knew him, didn't you?
Michelangelo.
Yeah, Ogie. Yeah,
Friend of mine.
Ogie knew him, that's right. Next to Ogie, of course, our good friend David Briggs, director of High Point Theater, and bringing up the rear, and I mean that affectionately, B.J. Barnes, former sheriff of Guilford County, who, by the way, once arrested Dave Briggs for being too artistic. It's,
That's right.
I don't know what the code is on that, but it's now. All right, let's get to it. last week we mentioned about the controversy that's still raging over whether to change the name of the Dixie Classic Fair because the word Dixie is offensive to some people. Now, Ogie and I have already mentioned that we don't think it really ought to be changed. I mean, we're not adamant, but so here's the question to the other two guys here. Should the name be changed? And to all of you, here's the question. What do you think it should be changed to if it were going to be changed? Ogie.
Probably going to have a location name in it like Carolina Classic or Salem Classic or something like that would make sense.
Location name.
I want to go back to Dixie. Take me back to dear old Dixie.
Yeah, you've got your Dixie
Either
cup
that or
with
the
you.
Snowflake Fair.
The Snowflake
These guys
Fair.
going to want to change things like that. I think
Yeah.
I
All
used to
right.
drink wine out of the thing.
Well, here you go.
No, we're not going to talk about wine right now. So you've got the two-pronged question, Sheriff. Should it be changed? If it is, what would you like to see it changed?
No, it should not be changed.
But if it were?
But if it were changed, I'd like to see it changed to the Triad.
To the Triad Fair. Okay.
You know, because it is. But the long and short of it, you can't change history by changing words.
Yeah. All right, now speaking of so-called racist controversies, Yankee Stadium and other sports venues have stopped playing Kate Smith's rendition of God Bless America. Kate Smith was big on radio in the 30s, and she recorded a couple of racist songs in 1931. Of course, black performers performed the same songs. They weren't very nice, but they all performed them then. Now, are you okay with the decision to stop playing her renditions, or is it a case of political correctness going a little too far? Ogie.
I'm
You're a
okay with
musician.
it
You're
for
a
different
musician.
reasons, Jim. It's almost a case of correcting political correctness. Because after 9/11, every ballpark in the world started playing it, and then it became the thing. It replaced "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" everywhere, and then people started standing for it as if it were the national anthem, which it's not. It's a song, period.
Right.
It's a song. It's a nice song. It's a song. I'm for "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Harry Carey.
All right.
Well, let me feed
Hey.
off Take Me Out to the Bar Game because Jack Norworth, who wrote this song in 1908, was a minstrel. He did
minstrel
acting
shows.
in blackface.
Blackface, yeah, that's
Where do you
weird.
stop? Where
a
does it
weird
stop?
juxtaposition,
Yeah.
Sheriff.
I think it's a prime example of PC going too far again. I mean, this is years and years ago. As I said before, you can't change history. Let's learn from it and go on.
All right, here's a tough one, guys. As more and more states change their laws on statute of limitations, Boy Scouts of America may have to declare bankruptcy rather than settle over 12,000 cases of alleged sexual assault by former Scout leaders. Given that the Boy Scouts organization kept secret the names of many of those offenders until just a few years ago when they were forced to make them public, would you like to see the organization just go out of business or restructure? Ogie, your thoughts?
I would really hate to see the Boy Scouts go under, Jim. I was a scout, and my experiences were really good and positive, and somehow it's got to get fixed, restructured. Somehow it's got to get fixed.
Dave?
I happen to agree with Ogie on this. I have a son who's an Eagle Scout, lots of Eagle Scouts in my family. The Boy Scouts do too much good to let a few bad apples ruin the whole batch.
Okay.
I agree with these gentlemen. I have Eagle Scouts in my family also, and it's a great organization.
And my dad was a scout leader back in the 40s and early 50s.
mine too.
Ogie's too. But the thing is, guys, 12,000 cases, if they start having to settle those things, they don't have the money to do that. So, all right. Meanwhile, presidential candidate Bernie Sanders says that violent felons should be allowed to vote while serving time in prison. Good idea or bad idea? Ogie.
Oh, Bernie. Just step aside, Bernie. Just don't
He's
gum
going
up
off-
the work.
he's
Just
going off the deep
gum
end.
up the works,
Going off the
Bernie.
deep end, yeah.
He's
But
a
Dave.
nut. To be real honest with you, I think once a person has served their time and they're off parole, they should have their voting rights returned to them.
Yeah.
Not while they're in prison.
Not while they're in prison.
No.
Sheriff.
That nut thing, is that a Barney Fife impression?
Yeah, that's right. He's a nut.
Yeah,
He's wrong.
It's ridiculous. I mean, felons don't need, especially
Yeah.
dangerous felons, don't need to
All
be.
right. Most schools have dress codes for students, but now a Houston area high school has established a dress code for parents. If a parent shows up at school, the school office, wearing a t-shirt dress, pajamas, hair rollers, or something that's revealing, they get sent away immediately. Are you okay with a dress code for parents? Ogie.
You had me there until you got to the revealing part. Actually, I'm totally okay with the dress code. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right, Dave.
The dress code doesn't bother me so much, but I think it has to be situational. If you're awakened from a sleep and you've got to go get a sick child, you may be throwing on whatever you've got close by.
Right. So that might
And you're
be
not going to
too,
put your tuxedo on to
yeah,
get
too
your kid.
restrictive.
Yeah.
BJ.
How a parent dresses is definitely reflective of how that kid will probably act. I have no problem with a dress code.
All right, finally, scientists in California now say that when we look directly into our dog's eyes, we had a really nice little dog on the show earlier today. When we look directly into our dog's eyes, we give off something the scientists call a love hormone. Guys, have you ever given off a love hormone? Ogie.
You know, I think there's something to that, Jim. It's not just dogs, like cats, humans. I mean, yeah, I think, you know, lovers live longer. I think it stress. It takes away stress.
You've given off a lot of love hormones.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I try.
Dave?
Well, we're all here. We got here somehow. I think it was that love hormone.
Dave's mama and daddy had love hormones. BJ?
I'm gonna have to agree with these guys. I mean, I think there is such a thing as a love hormone, and I wish I could find more of it.
All right, good guy. All right, good answer, you guys. All right, thanks for doing that. Let me do this before we run out of time. A pizza restaurant in Texas was shut down by the health department last week because an employee had been putting laxatives in the pizzas. Said one police detective, no suspects yet, but we should have movement soon.
Ooh.
I don't know what that means, but all right, for all of us here, Try Today. I'm Tim Longworth. We'll see you next week.